And thank you everyone for joining us. This is part of the FIU Libraries Work Smart workshops. These are workshops that we host every semester. Here's our flyer for the spring 2025, so you can see what we've already had and what we plan to host in the future. If you've missed any, that's okay, because we record these and they are on our respective YouTube channels. So you can always view them there. You can sign up for any that are coming up soon. For example, we have a research retreat for upper division and graduate students coming up, a Where Should I Publish My Research, another citation manager, Zotero, systematic reviews, and then AI tools for library research. So if you haven't signed up yet and you're interested, make sure that you do that. You can scan the QR code and we'll make sure to put that link in our chat. So here's an overview of the workshop today. There's a lot of advanced features that you can use with EndNote, but our goal is for you to have a nice overview of this software and leave with the basics. And that includes how to get EndNote, how to install it and create a library, how to add references as you're doing research into that library. If you want to add full text or PDFs that attach to those references, how would you do that? Staying organized. EndNote is a great tool to organize your research, and there's different features to help you do that. Of course, one of the great things about having a citation manager is that you can cite while you write. So once you've added all these references to a library and you're writing your paper, you can insert those citations already formatted in a particular style. So we're going to show that and how to enable that once you use EndNote. And then, of course, you can use EndNote to collaborate with others. If you're working in a team, you can share a group of references and pull from those references within a manuscript or a paper. So we're going to launch a quick poll just to get to know our audience a little bit better, and if we can, address some of, your own experiences using citation managers. So let me go ahead and launch that. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see the poll. And we'll take about 30 seconds to fill that out. And it's basically asking you how comfortable you are with the topic already, if this is a refresher for you, if you're currently using a citation manager, what citation style you use. Okay, so I see some answers coming in. Okay, we'll just give it like 10 more seconds. We have almost everyone has participated, which is great. Okay. Perfect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So hopefully you can see the results. Ramses, let me know if you can't. But it seems like most of our participants are completely new to EndNote. So hopefully this gives you a nice overview. We do have someone who is proficient, which is awesome. Most people are not using a citation manager. The person that does use EndNote. Okay, so that's good. We do have an other. So if you feel comfortable and want to put in the chat which other one you use, that's great. And then we do have a lot of AMA users, some APA. Great. So those are the two citation styles we usually focus on. So if you have any others that you use, we'll try to incorporate that. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating in that and allowing us to get to know your needs a little bit better. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ramses. He's going to give us a nice overview of what EndNote is before we get into the actual software.
Thank you, Daisy. So what is EndNote? Hello, everyone, before I begin. So what is EndNote? EndNote is a citation or reference management software that, resides in your computer and also syncs to the cloud. There's such as, we have EndNote in your desktop and also EndNote online. So the two of them sync with each other. It is a tool that helps you collect, edit, store, and organize and share all of the reference that you're using currently for your research. You can also store PDFs and other documents attached to a corresponding reference. So you can actually have the article within EndNote, corresponding the reference that you're using. It is a dynamic citation generator, which means you can cite as you write. And I'm going to go into later on, and we're going to show you exactly just how to do that. So it does have thousands of citation styles available, and it automatically inserts formatted citation or in-text citations as it builds a reference list. So it really, really comes in handy in that portion of your research. It also integrates into Microsoft Word Online, and Google Docs. Although with Google Docs and MS Online, you must have the latest version, which is EndNote 21. Now, where do citation management come in, and especially, EndNote, which is what we're talking about, come in the research process? As you know, the research process is sort of an ever-evolving process. So first you choose a topic, then, you get your background information, you write a thesis or your research question, and then you search for information. Well, the citation management managers allow you to save and store reference that you find during your search. Many of this also provide the option to attach a PDF or full text for particular references. After that, you evaluate all your information sources, and then you begin to organize your research. As you're organizing your research, citation managers have tools that help you organize the reference that you have found. You can, group all your citations into groups or folders, subgroups within those groups. You can add labels to find them easier to recognize and cite later on. And it also gives you the ability to add tags. Okay. After that, then you go on to, the citation portion of it. So with Citation Manager, you can insert references into your paper, format it into any style that you can choose. After that, it just sort of repeats as necessary. But that is the role that a citation manager, especially EndNote, can do. So what we wanted to show you really quick here was a little bit of the magic of EndNote, just by showing you. I'm going to do this later on a little bit slower. So, but while I sort of jabber on, I'm going to click play and show you how EndNote can help you cite a paper really quickly. So there you go. In this case, it's already synced to Word. And I promise I'm going to do this a little bit slower, but just to show you how quickly you can add your citation. So before I was even done explaining it, boom, it did it. So in this case, your Word is already linked to EndNote, and they can communicate to each other. And then you could just immediately add the in-text citation, and it automatically, boom, starts creating your reference page. Okay, so, uh-oh, he wants to do it again. It has gone rogue. Here we go. Now, I stopped it. Some of the pros of EndNotes is that you can sync across multiple devices. You have the ability to have multiple libraries, although we recommend that you only have one, and Daisy will explain later on with a little more detail why. It does have an incredible amount of storage. You could store so many citations. It's unbelievable. You have customer support available from Clarivate for questions and troubleshooting. There's actually an option that you can search through PubMed and Web of Science directly from EndNote. Although it's really not recommended. It's better if you go into those databases, but the option, it does exist. It can search for full text PDFs freely available, or from the library, which is something that was still working here at FIU to seamlessly sort of integrate. There are retraction tools that flags some of the if there's an article that has a retraction on it and you have it as part of your citations, EndNote will actually flag that article. And it does have a constantly updated software. Now, as with everything, there's a few cons about EndNote. Although this is not a problem for us since we're affiliated with FIU and we get it for free, it is not inexpensive. It can cost up to $275, although once again, we get it for free. Currently, there are two versions of EndNote Online, and it would be a lot better if there was just just one. Only one library can be synced to your EndNote Online account. So if you have more than one library, they will be merged when synced. So that's why, one of the reasons it's better to just have one library. You can share, your group with, a lot of different peoples, but they will only be able to work on those references online, not in their desktop. So only with the EndNote Online. The Cite While You Write feature in Google Docs and Microsoft Word Online is not as robust as with regular Microsoft Word, which I will show you later on. And if you want the right Cite While You Write, you must have the latest version, EndNote 21, which is really no problem because the updates are constantly coming, and it should be okay. And it cannot merge duplicate references. Now, as with all citation managers, it does take a little time to learn and use effectively, but once you do it, it really just it makes everything so much easier. It's really worth spending the time to learn it. And you must know at least a little bit about citation style, enough to know which citation is incorrect. Remember, citation managers will not fix the mistakes in your reference. So now I'm going to turn it back to Daisy, and let me stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Ramses. All right, so we do have a guide to kind of help you navigate EndNote, the steps for downloading, installing, for setting it up. Much of what we're covering in our workshop today is going to be available on this guide. I'm going to go ahead and grab the link and put it in the chat. The guide does live on the medical library website, but anybody can access the guide no matter, what program you're in at FIU. So hopefully that works for everybody. So let me go into the guide here, and the link will be on these slides as well. So we'll try to send this out, the slide deck to everyone, or I'll try to save it as a PDF and share with everybody before the end of the session. So let me go live to the guide. Okay, so here is the guide. You have the tabs on the left, and again, it's going to walk you through all the steps of getting EndNote and also using it, how to set it up, how to add the references, right? These are things we're talking about today: organizing the references, attaching PDFs, using Cite While You Write, sharing and collaboration, and then of course, help and support. So this would be the one-stop shop to really be able to use EndNote and get all those steps that you need for each part of the process. So before we get into EndNote, and we're going to use the guide to help us do this, but I wanted to show you the lay of the land of an EndNote desktop library so that when we're in there, you feel comfortable and you know what we're looking at. So this is a screenshot of an EndNote library. It's going to look pretty much the same on a Mac. There might be a couple differences. So across the top, you have the menu and toolbar. So this is where you're going to access any preferences or customization and a lot of the features that are within EndNote. If you're on a Mac, to access this menu, you kind of have to take your mouse to the top and let the EndNote menu kind of open up. Some differences here on the PC. If you want to find preferences, that would be under Edit. On a Mac, you would have to select EndNote 21, and then that's where the preferences menu will be. So there's some little differences like that. And then it has 3 panels across. So you have your groups panel on the left side. This is where you're going to have, it's going to tell you how many references you have in your library. It's going to, any groups or folders that you've created are going to be listed here and accessible through here. You can see how many references are in each of those groups. If you've added any tags, you'll see them here as well. Once you enable Find Full Text, where EndNote will try to find the full text for you, it will be accessible through here. If someone has shared a group with you, you'll be able to see that here as well. And then, of course, the online search feature that Ramses mentioned. In the middle panel, this is the reference list panel. So here, once you select a group from the groups panel, you'll see any of the references in that panel. These are clickable. And then you also have the option to search the references in that group. You also have a tab here where you can have multiple groups open side by side. Um, you also have these shortcut icons that do some of the main features of EndNote. Again, these are accessible through the main menu, but also through these little shortcuts here. And then on the third panel on the right, once you select a reference, it's going to populate this panel, and it'll give you a summary of that particular reference that you have selected. And then at the bottom, you'll have the preview sub panel. So on Macs, I've found that this panel sometimes is a little bit hidden. So you have to kind of, hold your mouse down and then drag it up. This panel is important because it will show you what the citation will look like before you use it. So if there's a mistake, if something's missing, you'll be able to catch it here. And then you can go to the edit panel, and this is where you'll be able to edit any of the fields. Let's say the article that you imported into EndNote had the title in all caps. Well, no citation style wants all caps, unless it's like an acronym or something. So you would have to go in there and change the title, let's say. So you would do that in the edit panel. And then here, EndNote has a PDF viewer embedded into the software. So if you have the PDF attached, like it is in this case, you'll be able to go to the PDF tab, open up the PDF in a window, and annotate and highlight and things like that. And I will show that live in just a moment. But I wanted to make sure that we all know what this looked like. So when we're in here, we know what we're looking at. All right. So let's go back to the guide and talk about how to get EndNote. All right. Okay. So here we would go to download and install. And the way that you would get EndNote is that you would have to request it from PantherTech directly. If you have an FIU computer, let's say you have a laptop or on your desktop at work, then you would have to also get IT involved. So you would request it from PantherTech first, or you can contact and make a ticket with IT. But if you do request the software from PantherTech and you have an FIU computer, you're going to need IT to put in those credentials, as we probably all know when we try to install something. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you're downloading it onto your personal device, you won't need IT to do that. Here are the steps where you check your compatibility, and then how to request it from PantherTech. So I went ahead and went to PantherTech. Here, I logged in with my FIU credentials, and then I used the search box to search for EndNote. Once I go here, I see that EndNote is there, and it's $0, as you can tell. And then you would select either PC or Mac, depending on your device, and then you would add it to the cart. And then you'll see the cart here, and then you would do checkout, proceed to checkout, and then follow all of those prompts. And then PantherTech will send you an email with the installation file, depending on whether you picked PC or Mac, and then the product key that it will prompt you to enter. And if it's a Mac, obviously you'll get the Mac version of the installer. It does come with an invoice, but that doesn't mean you have to pay anything. It is free to all FIU affiliates. And the cool thing is too that you're not limited to just one device. You can install this on multiple devices. So that I think is really helpful. So let's go ahead and move into actually, once you've installed EndNote, how do you start using it? How do you create a library? So this is a created library already, and hopefully by the end of the session, you can see how we got here, right? How we added the references, how we added the groups and the tags and the PDFs. So once you install EndNote, you'll be asked to either create a library. If you don't get that pop-up, then you would go to File and then go to New. Okay. And then a couple things about creating EndNote library. So as Ramses said a couple times, we do recommend just to have one library. You can have multiple, but it gets a little bit tricky because let's say you're working on a Word document and you have multiple EndNote libraries open. The Word document might get confused as to know which library you want to pull from. It can corrupt the Word document over time because you're pulling from different libraries. So for that alone, it's worth just having the one library and then using groups for the different projects that you're using. Also, as far as syncing, when you install EndNote you want to also make sure that you have an EndNote online account to sync your library and make sure that it's saved to the cloud. Now, if you have multiple libraries, as Ramses mentioned, it will merge all those libraries onto the cloud. So that could be a little bit tricky to navigate if you have several libraries with different projects, with duplicates potentially, and things like that. So that's why we stress to just have the one. Another thing about EndNote libraries is that when you're going to save the library, make sure you do not save it to cloud-based storage. Make sure you save it onto the hard drive. Again, EndNote says that if you save it onto cloud-based storage, it can corrupt the file over time. So make sure, again, it's on the hard drive, not iCloud, not Dropbox, not OneDrive. If you save a compressed file, like a backup, that could live on the cloud. But the actual .enl that we see here should not be living on cloud-based storage, okay? So that is another important thing, especially for Mac users. If your default is iCloud, make sure that you're paying attention to where it's being saved. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to call this, you can call the library whatever works for you. I'm going to call it workshop. And I'm going to hit save. Right. And then now I have a nice clean library here. Okay. The last thing I'll mention about libraries is that once you create that .enl file, you automatically created two files, the .enl and a data folder, okay? And these have to travel together forever, okay? They have to be in the same directory in your files, in the same folder. If they get separated, you won't be able to use the EndNote library. The data folder stores a lot of the information for the library. If you change the name of the EndNote library, the .enl file, you have to change it on the data folder. So they have to kind of mirror each other. So if I went to my documents folder right now, I would see that they're right there. There's an EndNote workshop library, ENL, and there's a data folder for my workshop library. So there are two files, and this is explained in the guide as well. So those are the big three things to remember when you are creating EndNote libraries. And then before you start using it, there are a couple settings that we recommend that you do so you use EndNote to its full potential. I'm going to minimize this for a moment here so that we can do this side by side. And let me go back to the guide. Okay. So here in the Setup EndNote tab, and let me make that smaller, you'll kind of walk through these different steps, right? So we created a library. All the stuff I talked about will be here. And then here you have these different steps. And these steps take 5 minutes or less to do, but they can save a lot of time later. The import filters, basically, you would follow the steps here. This allows information to come in correctly from multiple databases so that the metadata goes in the correct fields. So here you would go to Tools, and then import filters, and then open filter manager, and then follow the steps from there. The journals term list is another setting that we recommend because here you can go ahead. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So the steps are here. We would go to library. We would go to open term list and then journals. So here you would see that, let me go back to this other library here so I can show you what it looks like. Let's go here for a second. Library, open term list, journals. Okay, so I've done this for my demo library here. So what I've done is that I've added a list of journal titles and their abbreviations. And if I saw that we had several AMA users here, so you know that the journal titles have to be abbreviated. So EndNote will automatically switch from the abbreviated title to the full title of the journal automatically when you add this list of journals. So again, it's just 3 clicks of your mouse, but it will save you a lot of time later when you have to edit those references, and EndNote will automatically do that for you. So I do think that it's worth it to do that. So let me open back the one I created. And back to our guide here, citation styles. EndNote comes preloaded with a lot of them. They call it output styles here. So you can see I've added several: APA, Chicago, AMA for, the JAMA for American Medical Association, NLM, Turabian, Vancouver. And if you need to add more, you would go to Open Style Manager, and then you can add from here. You can see several journals have their own style. So if you are submitting to a journal and they have their own style, you can check for it here, or you can get the file online to import that style into EndNote. And that way, all of your references will be formatted in the style that the journal has asked for. And then finally, setting up full text finder. EndNote has a feature that it will, once you've added the references, it will try to find the full text or PDF that corresponds to that reference. Instead of you having to find all of them, it's not a perfect tool. It might find 50%, sometimes 20% of what you're looking for. But this step allows you to set it up so that it will look at FIU's library resources. Again, not perfect. We're still trying to work out the kinks, but on campus, it works pretty good. So you would find a lot of that under Edit, Preferences, and then find full text. And you can see here, I've already added the links here, the FIU links. So again, that's all on the guide, and setting this up will not take that much time. And then the big thing here is to create an EndNote online account. Again, this is what's going to allow you to share with other people. It's going to make sure that you have a backup in the cloud in the EndNote online account. So make sure that you do create that EndNote online, and you can do it right here from EndNote. If you go to Edit and then Preferences, and then you go to Sync, and then Enable Sync, and then here you can create the EndNote account right from here. Now that I'm speaking about EndNote Online, I do want to mention something Ramses said. After EndNote 21 came out, EndNotes had two different EndNote Online interfaces. They have the EndNote 21, and then they have the Classic. The 21 is going to look like this. I just closed it accidentally. But it's going to look like this, and it looks very similar to the EndNote 21 desktop version. But a lot of the features as far as sharing groups are actually going to be in the classic version, which looks like this. So that's to me kind of like the downside, because you have to, you know, kind of navigate between the two. Right now, I would say the EndNote Classic is your best bet, because that's where you can see any shared groups, and where you can kind of enable Cite While You Write for those shared groups. You can't do that in the new EndNote Online. So I think they're still developing this, but just so that, if you get confused or you see that there's two, that's kind of the story behind that. But you do want to make sure you have an EndNote Online account. I'm going to pause just for a second. Are there any questions of anything that we've talked about so far before we get to actually adding references into EndNote? I don't see anything in the chat. Oh, how to create an EndNote online account. Okay. So you can do that right from EndNote. If you're here in your EndNote library, if you go to Edit, and then Preferences, and then Sync, then you would hit Enable Sync, and then Sign Up. And then you'll be prompted here to put your name, your last name, your email. And we do encourage to use the FIU email, but you don't have to. And you can always change that later as well. So you can do it right from here. Oh, do you have a Mac? Yes. Okay. So yeah, so on the Mac, if you do have already EndNote installed, you would kind of hover up here, and then you'll see like the EndNote 21 menu, and it'll say EndNote 21. Click on EndNote 21 and you'll see the preferences there. I don't know, do you already have EndNote on your computer? Yeah, okay. Did you find what I was talking about? So if you hover up, there's like an EndNote 21. And then if you click on that where it says EndNote, you'll see the preferences menu there. And if you can't find it still after the workshop, we could definitely help you find it. You can also create the EndNote web account directly on the website, on the EndNote online website too. Can't find it? Okay. Okay, so just stick around. And we can do that one-on-one just to make sure that you're able to access that. Um, and then again, you can let me put the link in here. Hold on a second. You can create an EndNote online account. Let me grab this and put it here. And hopefully that should take you to a page where you're able to create the account. And then later, that's the account you log in when we find it in preferences. So we'll make sure to do that afterwards. Okay, great. All right, so I'll move on there. But if you think of another question, feel free to pop that into the chat or unmute yourself. Okay, so let's
I
get,
had a
oh, go
question.
ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. I think because I'm following the chat as well, they
Mm-hmm.
may have changed the word from preferences to customizer.
Oh,
Does that
yes, you're right.
sound
Mm-hmm.
okay? That's the same thing. That may be what is required to do the
You're
preferences
right.
on a
I
Mac.
think I think recently when I helped somebody on a Mac, you're right. It did say something different.
Just
No,
to
it's not,
confuse the world, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, try to find that and see. It might it's not customizer because I know that there's something called customizer, but it might be something else. And I'm sorry I don't have a Mac to demo that in, but it's one of those options. Yeah, thank you so much, Valerie, for bringing that up because you're right. I think it did change recently. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. So here we are in the empty EndNote library. So before we add the references, typically you don't need to create a group or a folder to add the references. But typically, once you're going to go and search, you already kind of have a topic in mind or a project that you're working on. So I wanted to show you how to create a group first, just to kind of follow what that process might be. So let's say that my project is on graduate students and stress, right? And I'm going to go ahead and conduct a search and try to collect references for that. So here under my groups, if you wanted to create an individual folder, you could go ahead and hit right click and then create group. And this will create a group where you can name it whatever you want. So let's say if I do graduate students, stress, right? You can also put them under my groups. This is a sub group set, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. You can also go to groups and then create group as well. I think the right click option is a little bit easier because it's right there. So
Are you
once,
sharing your screen? Because I don't think I see it.
oh, I think so. Ramses, what do you see? Do you see EndNote library? Yep. Okay, I got a thumbs up. Okay.
Oh.
Let me stop and reshare just in case. Okay. Okay, how about now? It's an empty EndNote library. Good?
Yes,
Okay, great. Thank
thank
you.
you.
So I've created a group here. Um, and then now I want to add references to this group, right? So let's talk about the different ways to add references. We're going to cover a few of them. So first and foremost, I'm going to show some of the different database platforms that we have. I'm going to start with CINAHL, which is the Nursing and Allied Health database, which is hosted on EBSCO. So let's say you're not in nursing or health sciences, but you use another database that's in EBSCO, it would be the exact same process. So let's say I do my search here, right? Graduate students and stress. Right? And the nice thing is that you can do it right from here. If you select the reference, it will have the same option. So if you have an individual reference you want to add in, they have this little menu icon here. And EBSCO did change recently. If you're a big EBSCO user, you probably are able to tell that. So once you click the three little dots, you would select Cite. This will pop up, and then you'll hit Export Citation. And then here you have several options. Yes, this does say EndNote Web, but this will actually send it to your EndNote Online. We want to send it to our EndNote Desktop. So that would be the RIS format. EndNote understands several file types. RIS is the big universal one, but it also understands ENW, if you ever see that, or .nbib for PubMed, and we'll do that example in a second. So you want to look for RIS in general in any databases, websites, in our catalog. You want to look for words like export, RIS, cite, tools, things like that to find this direct export option. So once we select that, it's going to download a file, the RIS file, and hopefully when you've downloaded EndNote, automatically any file type like this will automatically open up in there. If not, you do have to set it that way so it's the default that it uses EndNote to open that. And now we see that all the metadata for this particular reference has been added to EndNote. If I double click, I'll be able to see that the abstract came in and then all the citation information. Okay, so that will live in your downloads folder. You can empty it once you've added the references that you've wanted to add. You can also add multiple references at one time. So if we select, let's say, the first three here, then it would be the same process. We would hit the cite button here. Now it has like a little quotes, and it'll be the same pop-up. Make sure you select export citation and then export to RIS. And then it'll be the same thing. You open up the download, and then now the three references came in. Okay, so the three that we just imported, you'll see them here. And then all references are the four that we've inputted in here so far. And let's say I want to add them to my graduate student stress group. You can go ahead and select all, and then just drag and drop into that group. And now they're saved into that folder. Okay, you want to think of EndNote as a virtual filing cabinet where that library is that physical cabinet. Let's say if you're picturing that. And then these groups are folders, right, in that cabinet, you know, with different topics or different projects. And then these items are the specific papers or items in that particular folder. So that's what you want to think of as your EndNote library or database. So then we're going to show a couple more examples here. If you use, let's say, a ProQuest database, and if you want, you can put in the chat. If we don't bring up any that you use, if you want us to show it, let us know, and we're happy to demo that as well. So here's ProQuest. It's a social science database, but again, several databases live in this platform. So once I run my search, it kind of follows the exact same thing. It has a little quote button as well, so easy to remember. And then you would pick EndNote. In this case would be EndNote, what you would want to do. So that makes it a little bit easier to remember. And then again, same thing. If you select multiple references, it's the same process where you would hit the cite button, and then you would have the option to either do EndNote or RIS. Either one of these will work here. So ProQuest is pretty straightforward too. We did want to also show PubMed because it is a little bit different and it also has a different file type. So here I'm in PubMed. I've done my search. And if you wanted to do, let's say you're looking at an individual record, again, you want to look for that cite button. And then here you would select download NBIB. So it'd be the same process. You select the download file, and then automatically we've added that reference in here. It does work with multiple references too. So let's say we select these first three here. And then in this case, you would hit send to, and then citation manager, which is what EndNote is, and then create file. And again, it's the same process, right? And then we've got all three of them in here. And as you're collecting these, again, you can move them over into your, into your folder that you've created to stay organized. Google Scholar, we also wanted to show too. They also have a cite option here. And then again, you would look for either EndNote. RefMan is RIS as well. So either one of these will work. So we'll select EndNote. You see it's an ENW, but it should still work fine. And then we've gotten that in here into EndNote. If you notice, there's no abstract for this one because Google Scholar doesn't have that level of indexing that the other databases do. And then you could just drag and drop as you add those to your library. If you wanted to add multiple ones from here, you would have to log into your Google account and then hit save. And then from there, you should be able to look at those saved ones and export them into EndNote. You can also export stuff from our catalog. You could do direct export from here. So let's say I was searching, either for a specific book or to see what the library had in its collection on this particular topic. And let's say that I wanted to save this particular book. There is an export RIS option. The EndNote option actually takes you to your EndNote online account, so different. The export RIS will take it to the desktop, which is the software that you've downloaded. So once you hit that, you hit download, and again, same process, right? And then we will see it pop up in our library. So there is the book, okay? And then same process, right? As we go through this. And then many times we may find something not in a database, right? Or it's not in the catalog. Let's say I came across this journal article. I was doing a Google search. So on journal websites, they usually have a direct export option. This one, you want to look for cite this article. Some other ones may say tools or just cite or export. So that's kind of the language you want to look for. So here we'll see download citation. And then it automatically downloads an RIS. Again, that's pretty the universal one that a lot of citation managers use. And again, it's the same process, basically downloading the citation. And then once you open the file, it automatically opens up in EndNote. Did anybody have another database that they wanted us to demo before I move on to another way to get stuff in here? Oh, I see something in the chat. How to add books and websites. Okay, perfect. I'm going to move to that in just a second. Yeah, so as far as books are concerned, if it's a print book, I would try to find it in a catalog. So, try to find it in the FIU catalog if we have it, so that you can get this direct export option that I just showed. If we don't have it at FIU, try worldcat.org. That searches catalogs across the world. And if the item is there, which probably it might be, they also have a direct export option to help you get it into the citation manager. Ebooks should have an option for direct export because they're available electronically and they usually live in a database. So typically those should have the direct export. Now, let's say that the book is not available anywhere for direct export, or you have something that doesn't have a direct export option, like a website. And that's when you would do the manual entry. So if we go back to EndNote, and I'm glad you asked that because when you're writing a paper and you're using EndNote or a citation manager to add your references to format your bibliography, you can't just do that with some resources, right? It has to be everything that you plan to include in that paper has to be added into EndNote so that when you format the bibliography, it's all pulling from EndNote. So it knows that, like let's say you only were doing it for journal articles and now you're kind of in the Word document trying to add other stuff in. It's not going to put it in the correct order because it doesn't know that those citations, are part of it. It's just seeing it as text. So everything has to come in from EndNote if you want to use that feature in the site while you write. So in that case, if you have something that like a website or a podcast, a YouTube video, a piece of artwork, anything that doesn't have direct export, you would have to do a manual entry for that. So to do that, you would click this little clipboard with the plus sign. Or you could also do references and then new. And then this is going to open up a form basically for you to fill out. Okay. So I'm going to minimize this a little bit. And let's say that I wanted to cite this website from the CDC. So the first thing is that you have to make sure you select the correct reference type. The default is journal article. So make sure that you pick the correct reference type because based on the citation style that you've chosen, it will format it based on the reference type that you have. So if you've chosen AMA, for example, EndNote knows how to format that based on the type of reference. Like it has the instructions on how to format a website in AMA format. So that's why you have to make sure you select the right reference type. So you can see here that, let's say we picked artwork, it would change from author to artist. If we change to newspaper article, let's say, it will change from author to reporter. newspaper, so all the fields will change depending on the reference type. So if we wanted to do a web page, and I do want to mention that just because some things live on a website, it doesn't mean everything would be on a web page. If it's a newspaper article, make sure you pick newspaper article. If it's a government report, make sure you pick government report, even though they all might live on the web. So once we select web page, then you would basically fill this out. On this website, there isn't a specific author. So if we start putting in the Centers for, Disease Control and Prevention, right? And I do want to mention that if you are using an organization as an author, that you put a comma after that. Okay, that's a little tip. Because if you don't, it's going to try to figure out how to configure it as a person's name. It won't format it right. So anytime you're doing an organization, just make sure that you add that comma so that it knows. And then when we look on the web page, you would look for, an update date or a creation date. We see here 2024. So you would add that in. Let's say the title of the page, Managing Stress, right? So you would fill out the whole form as much as you can. A lot of these things are not relevant. The access date is probably needed for AMA, I would think, or APA as well. So if we did March 5th, right, 2025, and then the URL, you would copy and paste that into that field. Okay. So once we add that in and we hit save, right, and now we have that that reference in here, right? It's right here. Okay. And we can see the preview of what this looks like down here, right? So that's how you would add it manually for a website, a book, anything like that. And then finally, we have the online search option here. We don't recommend this when you're doing research. We do recommend going straight into the database so you don't lose out on the features of those databases. But let's say you have a known item like, oh, I have an ISBN, I have a DOI, I have a PMID if you use PubMed. Then this could be helpful for that. So if you have, let's say we start with PubMed. So if you go to PubMed here, you have some fields that you can search, right? And there's a bunch here. So let's say we did the PMID, which is the PubMed ID. It's a unique number for that particular reference in PubMed. And I'm going to go ahead and just paste this in. So let's say you have like 10 PMIDs and you want to add them. You can go ahead and do that. And it will automatically bring in the article. And that was it. So that's a really nice feature. If you want to save that, you can drag it to your groups if you wanted to. You can also search by DOI. Okay. So here again, we go to DOI and then same thing. Okay. And then there it is, different resource there. And then we can drag and drop. So again, I think this is a good tool if it's something that you already know that you want to add in there. And then the cool thing is that you can add our catalog to this too. If you click the plus sign here and we search for FIU, I just search for Florida, let's say, you'll see all the different catalogs that are available and FIU is there. You would select choose, and then now you can also search the catalog from here too, which is pretty neat. So if I did an ISBN, let's say, right, I use the field here, ISBN. And if we have it, it will also bring in that particular title. So that's pretty cool there too. All right. Okay, let me pause for a second. I see here, how can we share a library with a collaborator? Ramses is going to cover that in a little bit on how to collaborate. So we'll talk about sharing groups, and we'll also talk about sharing an actual full library as well. All right. Okay, so the next piece of this, right? Okay, great. If we go back to our library here is how to add PDFs. So adding PDFs is a second step. Once you've added the reference, then you might want to also add the full text that corresponds with that reference. So we're going to show you different ways to do that. The first way is, let's say you've already downloaded the PDF and now you just need to attach it. As you can see here, once I select a reference, you have the option to attach file in the summary panel. If you go to PDF, you have the option to attach only a PDF. So either one will work. As far as attaching files, you can attach multiple files. You can attach the PDF, and let's say you have a Word document where you're keeping notes, you can attach it to the reference as well. So that's really nice as an organizational tool. So here we're going to go ahead and hit attach file. It's going to prompt you to look in your computer, and there's the PDF, right? I already had it saved on my computer and it automatically attached it. And then if I go to PDF, I will see the PDF that it added. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward way to do that. Yeah, it's going to ask me to save. Okay, it's adding the PDF. And then you see here, now I can see visually that there's an attachment with this reference. Okay. The other way is to use the find full text feature that EndNote provides. It will try to find the full text that's available freely online, and it will also try to find stuff through FIU. So let's see how well it works. I'm going to select all my references here, my graduate student stress group. And to enable this, you can use the shortcut here. There's a little document with a magnifying glass, or you can right click and hit find full text. So I'm going to try the shortcut, right? And it's going to ask me to log in with my FIU credentials, right? Because it's trying to connect to our stuff here. So I'm going to log in.
Does it automatically do that because the software came from Panther Tech? It knows we are a part of FIU?
It does not. It does it because, let me do this while I answer that question. It will, ooh, why doesn't this open? Uh-oh. Okay. I'll get to that in a second. It does it because let me cancel this for a second. It does it because when you go to the preferences, and you go to find full text, I put in these two URLs that are in the guide. So like if I go back to the guide and I go to find full text feature, the two URLs are there and it tells you where to paste them. So then that way it tries to connect to FIU to search for the full text.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Of course. Let me try my other library. Let me see if I've already authenticated, hopefully. Okay. Let's see. Let's do these four that don't have a attachment. Okay. So here, let me try this again. Okay. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, because it might not. Yeah, and I have to set this up. Oh, okay, that's okay. So in a perfect world where you've done the two-factor authentication, right? I'm gonna hit continue because it will still try to do it. Because it's gonna look for stuff really available online. If you authenticate properly, it's going to try to search FIU stuff as well. So here it's searching. So it'll say that it'll either find the link, or it will find the PDF. So let me actually show it over here. Now that I know I can authenticate. So here it's searching, as you see here, right? And it's finding some of the PDF. So it found one PDF. It found another one, right? Which is good. Yep, found three of them. So this is a nice feature because if you've done let's say you found the abstracts that you're interested in and now you need to go find full text. Let's say you have 15. If EndNote's able to find 8 of them, then you don't have to worry about those 8. They're already in there, and then now you just have to go and look for the other ones. So that's a nice feature that it has. Hopefully it's able to pull from FIU, but we're still working out the kinks on that. So I found 5 of those PDFs out of the 12. So that's actually pretty good, although these all 3 are the same. But that's kind of how it is. I mean, it's not perfect, but it can save you some time. If it found the URL, then it might take you directly to the full text. Once you open up in here, you may be able to see that URL into the full text. So yeah, so that's a find full text feature. And then finally, we did see several people on the call that hadn't used a citation manager, but maybe you've done a lot of research and you have a bunch of PDFs saved. And you're like, oh, well, now I have to go look, and add all of these, individually. Well, EndNote can help you. So let's say that you have a folder of PDFs and you want to create your library with that folder. You can do that. So, and EndNote will try to find the reference information. So if you go to File, Import, and then Folder, it's going to ask you to look in your stuff. So here I have a folder of PDFs, right? And the import option is only PDF, and you can import all or remove any duplicates. I'm going to import all of them. And depending on how many you have, it might take a little long. I only have 5, so it shouldn't take too long. So if the PDF has a DOI and is machine readable, EndNote will be able to retrieve the citation information for you. So you see, automatically it added not only the reference information, but also the PDFs for me. Now, if you notice, the first one here, there's no information, and that's because it's probably older. Maybe it's not machine readable, it doesn't have a DOI. So in this case, what would I do? I would either open up the PDF and then just go to edit and add the information myself. Or I would move this to the trash and just make a note, okay, I need to go find this reference. I could go to PubMed or I can go to another database and then attach the PDF from your files because you don't want to have duplicates in your library. But again, out of 5, it found 4 of the reference information. So again, that can save you time, especially when you have a big folder of PDFs where you've done a lot of or saved a lot of your research. So those are some of the main ways to get PDFs in here, attaching them to their respective references. And then the last piece here, before I turn it over to Ramses to talk about Cite While You Write and collaboration, is staying organized. So I already mentioned the groups. I'm going to go to my other library here, just to save us a little bit of time. So here you can create multiple groups or folders in EndNote. Here I have individual, right, groups, but you can also create group sets, right? And you can be as creative as you like. If you have a topic, and let's say, here I have diabetes and I have a group for patient education. So any references about patient education, I would save in here. But I'm also doing some stuff on underserved populations. So maybe I would create a group just for that. Maybe you have a big paper like a thesis or a dissertation. You can create a group set and then maybe have different subgroups for each of your chapters or sections of the paper. If you have a course and you have multiple assignments. So it's really up to you how you want to use that. To create a group set, you can go to My Groups, right click, and then create group set. So you would name the group. So let's say test, and then you would select it and then create group under that particular, group set that you created. And you can always rename these. You can delete them. If you delete them, it doesn't delete the references in them. It will still stay in all references here. And then you have the tags. So here, if I go to all references, you can see there are multiple tags already added here. Functionally, these work like the groups, where here you would select the plus sign and you have 7 different colors and you can name them whatever you'd like. So if we do gray, let's say, and again, I do little test tag here, and then create tag. Then from here, you can drag and drop in here. If you selected a reference, let's say, and you clicked it, you could do manage tags, and then it will prompt you to add tags. You can also add tags from here if you go to edit and then manage tags. So there's multiple ways to do that. But again, it's a really nice feature to organize your work. And you can add multiple tags to one reference. I just wanted to mention 2 more things. Number 1, make sure you don't have duplicates in your library because this can be problematic when you're writing in a Word. If you're inserting, let's say you insert one of the duplicates, and then the next time you insert that citation, you insert the other one, EndNote is going to treat it as two different citations. So try to clean up your library, try to stay organized, so that that doesn't happen. And in order to check for any duplicates, if you go to, let me go back to my workshop here. If you go to the graduate students one, let's say we select this, we go to references, and then go to library, find duplicates. It will search for the duplicates. You can't merge them, but you would have to select which one you'd want to keep. Okay. So make sure that you do that. And then finally, you are able to search your library. There's an advanced search feature here. You can search by title, author, keyword. You can see the different fields here. And then the PDFs, I forgot to mention this, but when you open up the PDF viewer, you're able to annotate, highlight, add notes. And the cool thing is that you can search those notes. So if you tagged, a PDF with a certain note, you can go back to it and search it that way. So that I think is really beneficial. And then to access the PDF viewer, you would just click on that PDF and then open this up here, that little arrow. And now you can see the PDF and you can do all your annotations here. So I'm sorry I didn't show that. All right. So hopefully I didn't miss anything. I know it's a lot. I'm going to turn it over to Ramses to talk about the site while you write and collaborating with EndNote.
All right, thank you, Daisy. So here I'm going to show you how well EndNote plays with Word. So I have here a little article I have written, and I also have my EndNote. So now, how do we merge EndNote and Word? You would go to File, in your regular Word document, you can go to File, and then Get Add-ins, and then just do a search for EndNote, and then EndNote would appear then on your, up here. So we have, design, layout, all that good stuff, and then EndNote. And it makes it really easy to go back and forth from one to the other. Right here on Word, you have the go to EndNote, and then boom, it just sort of appears.
And if I could jump in, Ramses, real quick, also when you download the EndNote software, it should automatically have that add-in. In case if you don't see it, then try Ramses what he just said.
Right.
But hopefully once you install the software, when you open up Word, the EndNote 21 tab should be in there. Just make sure Word and everything's closed before you install EndNote.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. So also, as far as you can see, I have all of my resources here. And as far as finding your citation styles, you could always go to Tools. I don't know, Stacy went through some of this, but you can go to Output Styles, and then you have, for example, all this here. But if you're looking at all of the possible ones, you can go to Style Manager and click here. And as you see, you have hundreds of different styles. However, if by any chance the one that you're looking for is not present here, you could always, get more on the web. If you click here, it takes you to the EndNote website, and then, you can find those there. Now, let's say, for example, I needed to add a new one, and I find it, and let's just say ACS. All I have to do is simply click it and then close the window. And then when you go back and you go to Tools and you go to Output Styles, then you'll see that ACS has been added. Okay. And it's easy to just, go from one to the other. So once you click it, then it is there. And it also affects, the same thing. It's being applied to Word. I'm just going to keep it on APA 7th here, just to show you a few things. Now, let me look, because I did make a list, because I don't want to forget anything, to see what the next thing I'm going to show you. Okay, so adding citations. Very, very simple. So let's go back to our Word document. So our Word document is now, you always sort of want to, update citations and bibliography every time you make any changes. You always want to, sync, make sure they're syncing with each other. But for example, let's just say I have this citation, I need to cite this sentence. Now, what I also did previous to that is I put all of the articles that I used for this paper, I put it in a new group. So I know that I'm working with these, with these specifically. So I know that this quote here or whatever I'm citing is from Evans. So what do? I go back to Word and I click where I want my citation to appear. As you can see, there is no bibliography either. It's just a plain writing. So I go to Insert Citation, go to Citation, and then I'm going to look for Evans here. Go to Find, and I find my citation. And then what you could do is just go here and type Insert. Okay, I click Insert. Now this Insert gives you the choices to insert display as author and year, or just the author, or just the year, or just a bibliography only. This is just a regular bibliography. So I'm gonna insert it as author and year. And as you can see, boom, it appears here. Oops, I did it too close. So it appears here. And guess what? By magic, it already starts building your bibliography at the same time. Okay, now this is an APA 7th edition. You could also change the bibliography from here as well as from EndNote. So for example, if I realize that, oh my God, it's supposed to be in like AMA or JAMA, I could just click on it and then see what happens. Automatically, it turns into that style of citation and also that style of bibliography. So it builds it up at the same time. Now, I'm just going to go back to APA 7 because I'm more comfortable looking at it. But let's say, for example, you have this type of writing. So according to Smith, right? And I know I'm going to be needing to cite that, but it's already, the author's name is in there. I'm going to do the same thing. However, I go to Insert Citation. I'm going to search for Smith because I know this is going to be my citation. I find it. And when I do, I'm going to insert without the author name. So excluding the author and then just the year. And then guess what? Magically, it's also adding Smith. So you are creating your page as you go along, which is super cool. Sometimes you could do edit more than one citation. So let's just say, for example, here I know I'm going to use 2 authors for it. What I can do is I can go back to EndNote and actually let's just highlight this 2. And what I can do is go back to Word and go to Insert Citation and then Insert Selected Citations. So I just added, 2 citations at the same time, and also, boom, 2 citations to my bibliography. So it just really it does it. It's really pretty great. As far as making edits, you can actually update citations. You can edit and manage your citations from Word. So for example, these are the citations I have used so far. I can go in here and find different reference updates, remove citations, insert them into different places. Also, when you click on edit, it takes you right back to EndNote, and you can edit anything you want to. So for example, I noticed that, oh my God, I forgot myself as one of the authors. So I'm going to do that. Where these are fake articles. I'm not stealing anything. But yeah, I could just add it to that. And save. And now I am the author. It'll be there. Where's it? I can't find. But that is how you can make. There it is. So that is how you can edit and also delete citations. So now, quickly moving on to.
I wanted to say quickly, I'm sorry, Ramses, when you go back to Word, if you go back to to the Word document really
Yes.
quickly, just to show the edit. Yeah, so click OK here.
Yep.
And yeah, and then if you go up to the top, if you go to update citations and
Update
bibliography,
citations.
yeah, we should see Ramses's name down now with Evans. Yeah, it's right there in the first one, Marsili.
Yes. Sorry,
Yeah,
I forgot to tell you guys. Yeah, always update citations and bibliography
right.
anytime you make a change.
Yeah, and I do want to stress here a big time is that when you're editing a citation, make sure you do edit it in EndNote. Don't go into the Word document and backspace and do all the things, because the document does have special EndNote coding to make sure that you're formatting this correctly. If you do that, it's not going to know that you're making those changes. So make sure you edit in EndNote and then update the citation in there. Yeah.
And it's always formatting your bibliography is really easy. All you just have to do go to style and reformat it. If you don't have the style that you're looking for, then remember you can always go back to EndNote and go to tools and find find the style that you're looking for from here. Okay. Now, how does this work? I'm
Just
sorry.
one question. So if you needed superscripts, the numbers, you would see that if you were in a different output style, such as JAMA.
Yeah. So for
Okay.
example, let me put
Yes.
it, let me change it to JAMA here. And see everything
Yes.
changes.
Okay, got it.
And it
Thank you.
changes the order too, if you notice,
Yes.
because now
Correct.
it's not alphabetical. Yeah. So if you
Yes.
do use a numbered style, citation managers are your friends, because let's say you write something and you send it to a friend and they give you edits and you have to change the order, it will automatically renumber it for you. So yes, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, if you are working on Google Docs, for example, you will go in order to to get EndNote, you will go to extensions and then add-ons. See, I've already done that, so mine already appears here. But then once you go to add-ons and get add-ons and search through it and find EndNote, then you have it here. As usual, you always want to sync. I always kind of sync whenever I go to a new place, especially since I've now put my last name on somebody else's fake paper. So I want to make sure, and it works. Very much the same. It doesn't have, as robust as a platform, but you can still manage your citations. So, it'll get them. It will, update citations and bibliography. Then you could, once it's done updating, then you can get all your references, like in this case. And then, for example, here I'm looking for Evans. So then you could just insert the citation and it'll work pretty much the same.
And I think you have to hit update citation after, because it's not formatted right now, and then it'll
Right.
format in the style that you have.
Yes.
Yeah, so there it goes.
Now, Google Docs actually lives in the cloud.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cite as you write will still work in the cloud as long as your EndNote library is not stored in the cloud.
Yeah. Yeah, because the way that the Google Docs site while you write works is that it communicates through the EndNote online account. It doesn't pull the citations from your desktop version. So that's why whatever you save to your desktop, you have to make sure you sync to then, and then it'll pull it from the online.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
is that also apply to, because I collaborate with colleagues and we share the document, a Word document in the OneDrive. That's how we continue to add to it. So again, the site as you write will pull from the online EndNote account. So we can still share the document as long as we're completely synced. But do we have to work from just one person's EndNote account? Or, because if I have my own EndNote account and a colleague has his or her own, we have differing libraries. How does that work? Or will we be working from the same shared group in our library?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, it would be, you could do either one. So like, let's say you created a library that you know you're doing just for this. I mean, I know we said just to have one, but let's say you create another one for this huge project you have with colleagues. You can share the entire library and then those people, and we can show that in a moment, but they can open that full library in their desktop. There's an option in EndNote where you go to file, open shared library, and you can see the whole library. And then from there, um, if they have that library open, then they should be able to pull from it on a regular Word doc. Now, as far as a shared document, that's where it gets tricky. And I would say maybe using a shared group would be better because I don't think that a shared library, like let's say if Ramses shared a library with me, on my EndNote online, I wouldn't see that shared library. I can only merge one, and it would be my personal one. So we I wouldn't be able to pull from it with the shared document like Google Docs or EndNote, I mean not EndNote, Word Online. So if you're gonna collaborate, I think the best approach would be a shared group because then everybody can access that group no matter what. Whereas the shared library would be good if you're gonna use just Word, I think.
Okay.
Um, because it's easier to access. But yeah, probably shared group I think would be the best option because then everybody has that group in their online account so they can pull from it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And continue
Does
to,
that make sense?
to
I
work
know
it.
it's a little like, but
I,
but if you
yes,
want to set that up, you can meet with us one-on-one and we can make sure everybody's connected the
okay,
proper way.
okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Thank you. I think I'm following you. If I should encounter, um, if I hit a crossroad, I'll reach out, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and here, so also in Google Docs, if you can also manage your citations. You could change your citation style. So there's that. Not as much as regular Microsoft Word, but it's still pretty good. And it builds your reference list as you're inputting your in-text
Mm-hmm.
citation. As far as Microsoft Online, it works, very much the same. You go to References, go to EndNote. Of course, it'll ask you to, um,
Log in. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
log in. Yes, and I did forget to say that. When you do that through through Google Docs and MS Word Online, once you find the add-in or the plugin, it will ask you to log in, and that's how it syncs
Mm-hmm.
with your EndNote library. So
Yeah.
it works as the same. You can manage your citations. Well, in this case, once you select it, but you can sync, should always sync now. uh, you can have your citation style. You can manage your citations, and you can enter, once you've updated your citations and bibliography, then you can do the same thing. So now, as far as sharing your groups, I'm going to go back to my
And if I can, while
EndNote.
he's doing that, Ramses, if you don't mind, I could just say, I mean, when I've worked with other teams that try to do this, sometimes they do run into roadblocks. Um, so sometimes they'll just have a shared document where they put like the text of the citation and then they'll download the document and then someone will just insert later, So that is a workaround if this doesn't go well, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, but I just wanted to mention that. Yeah. Sorry, Ramses, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Thank you. As far as sharing groups, the easiest way for me to do it is just you select the group that you want to share. Just right click on it and you click on share group. In this case, when you do this, it opens this little window here. It already lets you know who you're, sharing with. In this case, I'm not sharing with anything. And then enter the email address separated by comments. So I would enter, Daisy's address or anything else, and then she will get an email, boom, 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 and then we'll be able to work on it. I can give her the permission to read and write, so to make the edits, or just to read only. So you do have that option. Add a message if optional, and then send it away, and you guys can meet online and work on that. I know someone asked that question specifically, so I hope I hope you
Yes,
got. Oh, okay,
yes,
okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Now, as far as the groups that you're being that shared by others, that one will be here. I'm not gonna click on it because I'm actually sharing some groups and stuff. So there's some people's email addresses there, but we do have a, what does it look like? So yes, when I click on this, let me make it. Okay, so when you click on this, it goes into this. That's Daisy's. We'll go in there, and then when I click on that, I could click on Find Full Text Test, and here are the resources that are being shared with the link directly to find them at FIU.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the thing is that so in that case, I shared the group with Ramses. So the group lives on my library, but the way that Ramses has to share it, access it as a sharee, he can only access it on his online account.
right.
So when you go back to that other slide, when you say group shared by others and he clicks on that group, it will have a link to take you to EndNote Online. You log in if you haven't, and then you'll see it like this. So I did want to mention too, if I could do a quick share, Ramses, really fast.
Yes.
Since we've been talking about this document and things with the sharing, but if someone shares a group with you, so like Ramses shared this group with me before when we did this session. So here, this is the EndNote Classic. If you go to organize and then others groups here, um, in order for you to use cite while you write with the groups, you have to enable that here. Okay, so then that way, when I'm in a Word document and I'm pulling in references, I can choose shared groups and I can pull from shared groups. So that is another important consideration as well. And I think we do have those instructions on the guide. We need to add Google Docs in here, but we do have instructions like sharing an EndNote library. How do you do that? How to accept an invitation for a shared group, how to share a group, right? And there's these videos on how to do this. Here's that use cite while you write. And then you see shared groups. That's kind of what I was referring to. So it is on here if you do need it, okay?
Okay.
Let me stop share here so that Ramses
If
can.
you want to, because it's only one more slide,
Okay, I could do it.
fit
Yeah.
into
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it is. As you can tell, it's a lot. We try to make this shorter every time and we always fail. So there's a lot to cover. But there are additional resources, of course, as I mentioned just now, the guide I think is really helpful, and we did our best to create screenshots and step by step and make it very clear. There's also a lot of great resources online that are either produced by other libraries or by EndNote themselves, like how to use EndNote in 7 minutes, and stuff like that. Their customer support is excellent. Like they're super responsive. They will get on a Zoom call or a Teams call with you. They're really great. But of course, we're here to help. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have a team and you're trying to figure out the best way to share references, we can set you up. If you have, specific questions, we're happy to help you. I put the emails here for the main library, but also for the medical library. And thank you for your time. We really appreciate you staying on with us, and hopefully you were able to get something out of this, or at least a nice overview to help you decide if you want to use a tool like this. We highly recommend it. And we'll take any other questions that you have. If I
I
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead.
question. Hi,
Yeah.
this is Sarah. So in the beginning, we were talking about logging into online EndNote online, right? Before we open the library. Do we have to do that before we work on the EndNote each time?
No. Once you sync it, then you would create the EndNote online account and you have it synced in your preferences, which I can end the workshop and then I'll stop the recording so we can help you find that if you haven't found it already. But you don't have to log in every time. It's already saved. in your EndNote library. And then a good practice is to just hit the sync button at the top if you want to. Usually there's an option to just that it'll sync on its own, but I would say before you finish working on it, just hit sync or sync status, and that way it saves to the EndNote online. Yeah. But we can once we stop the recording, we can help you find the preferences on a Mac.
Sounds good.
Yes. Any other questions before we close out the session? No. Well, thank you everybody for your time, and we'll see you at the next one.